Hello guys, welcome back for another video. Today, we're going to be discussing 7 things you need to farm in Anime Vanguards, so watch until the end to figure out all these 7 things. But also, I have an announcement to make later on in today's video, which is probably going to be very important. Let's get started. Alright chat, you guys know our goal, get to 100k subscribers, an impossible goal that only you guys can help me reach. So without further ado, like and subscribe if you want to help us get to 100k subscribers. And there was one thing that I wanted to announce as well. I am now going to start posting or try posting other videos apart from Anime Vanguards. The reason why I don't post other games such as Anime Crusaders and all these other games is because I genuinely do not like them, and farming those other games takes a lot of time that can otherwise be used farming Anime Vanguards. But since there's some other games that I kind of like, such as Anime Guardians, I might actually post more videos about Anime Guardians now. I used to post Anime Guardians videos, and I will probably post more of that now. And there's going to be more AnimeDefenders X videos, especially since there's going to be an announcement there soon. So stay tuned for that. And without further ado, let's get started. At number 7, we have familiar shards. So familiar shards are incredibly important because 2 of the things I'm listing here in this top 7 are going to be familiar related, or 3 of them actually. So familiar shards is the first one. The next one is going to be at number 6. So the reason why familiar shards are incredibly important is because of just how revolutionary and how much of an effect these familiars can have. For example, right here, let's take a look at one of these familiars. So for every placement of this unit placed, decreases upgrade cost by 4.8. Now, the Silly Fairy is insanely good for any farm unit, especially for characters like Sprint Wagon. Because if you read the passive right here, every placement of this unit placed decreases upgrade cost by 4.8. And this is a max of 5%, but you can also get a roll that is like 3% or 2%. Now, if you compare 2% to 4.8%, that's a big difference, especially since this is actually going to be 4.8 multiplied by 3, which is going to be around 14.4%, which is going to be really effective if you place it on your Sprint Wagon. So yeah, it's very important to have those. And you also have examples, for example, Spirit Dispenser. Literally every familiar that you have, it needs to have a good roll on the passives right here. And the way you can do that is through these shards right here. Specifically, the most important one is Phoenix Shards, because that's the one that you're really going to be using a lot. Now, the elemental shards are kind of important as well. And then another extremely important one, obviously, is corrupting them. Corruption crystals are important, but I think since you have a high chance to not get corruption 3, this right here is not as, it's not going to be used as much. The most important one that you really need is, in my opinion, the Phoenix Shards. That's the one that you will almost always need. So yeah, that's at number 7. Now for number 6, we have important familiars. Now the reason why number 6 is going to be important familiars, I know there's going to be one other familiar listed here. There are important familiars that you need to farm. There is going to be another familiar later down the road, by the way, that is extremely overpowered, and it's the reason why I didn't put it here, because you can ignore these other familiars, but you can't ignore that extremely important familiar. So for important familiars, we have Silly Fairy. This one's gonna be good for farms. We have Fu Familiar. This one's gonna be really good for buffing units. Then we have obviously the Vanguard familiars. If you want them, you don't need to buy them right away because they are going to be permanent. You can buy them when they become permanent. You also have Black Spirit for characters that need it, which is really, really nice right here. And then there's a lot more that are very good. Strange Cat is also good, but this one is no longer obtainable. But the ones that are very important is Black Spirit for Goku and Sid and some of the other Guilty Gear characters. And then Silly Familiar for your farms. And then there's going to be for your support units, Vanguard Familiars for their respective characters. And then after that, you have Nose, which is very good for certain characters like Guts because of his passive. And then that's pretty much it, I believe. Number 5 is going to be Rift Shards. Now, the reason why Rift Shards are a must farm is because I noticed that they don't actually replace the Rift Shards. So what I mean by this is if you say, for example, farm 1000 Rift Shards, they are not going to reset your Rift Shards when they add a new unit. So the Rift Shard you have for Yuhaba is the same Rift Shard you have for characters like Astolfo, for characters like Gigi. Essentially what this means is if you keep farming Rift Shards and let's say you have 5,000 Rift Shards, the next time they add a Rift unit, you can instantly get that specific Rift unit, which is obviously really useful, especially if you're a YouTuber, you know, doing showcases. But it's also very good if you just want to get the unit early and find out what it does. Getting Rift Shards, since they don't reset it and it's basically shared for all of these units that they add in Rift, means that if you farm it early, if they do add another Rift unit down the road, you won't have to spend time farming Rifts just to get that unit. You already have enough Rift Shards prepared for that unit when they do add those Rift units, which is really nice, especially since a lot of these Rift units are actually pretty good. Like Astolfo is pretty good. Gigi is one of the best cleanses in the game. Yuhaba is literally still one of the best units in the game. And then Astolfo is also still one of the best supports in the game. The next Rift unit they add will probably be really good as well. You can bet on that the next Rift unit they add will probably be very good. If it's not a support, it's probably going to be a top tier DPS. Number 4 is going to be food XP. Now this one is very basic, but you would be surprised how much people don't have that much food. Like for example, I actually only have this much food right here, which is probably already enough to max out my units. But for example, for updates like the anniversary update where you're going to be getting like 14 units, I think you're gonna need to have a ton of food prepared for those units. And it was an issue for me, especially back then when I was not playing Anime Vanguards as much. I didn't have as much food to max out my units often. And this might also be a problem if you're a beginner. And again, this is, you know, catered towards beginners and also some intermediate players. If you're a pro player, there's probably still some things you can find here. But again, food is just something that you need to farm because levels are incredibly important. You know, to reach the max DPS of your character, you need to get max level on them. Unless they're a support, then you won't need it. But yeah, food is incredibly important. One of the best places to get it very easily is just here in the shop. Just spam, you know, buying these right here. And then if you do this every day, since gold is laughably easy to get, or you know, you just spam this every day right here, you will most likely have enough to upgrade your units every single update. So that's pretty much that for food. Now for number 3, we have Burb. Now the reason why Burb is going to be very important and why he is not in the important familiars list is because Burb is the only unit in the game that is essentially, once you get a good Burb, once you get a good roll on your Burb, it's essentially like having a trait on top of your trait. So let's say, for example, you have Monarch on your unit, right? And then you also have a good Burb that has decent roll on it. Like, for example, you have a Burb with all positive stats. Right now, mine doesn't have all positives, but it has 18% more damage and critical damage of 22% more. It does lower the rage and lowers critical chance. This one is a pretty mediocre Burb. But let's say, for example, you do get a really good Burb and you stack that on top of your Monarch, it's going to be like having Monarch and Ethereal combined. Because if you take a look at the buff for Ethereal right now in the game, you will notice that the buff for Ethereal is actually not even as good as the buff for Burbs, right? So the Ethereal buff is 20% damage, minus 20% SPA, and plus 5% range. You can literally get more damage and more range from the Burb familiar, I believe. And that is absolutely insane. And another reason why it's important is because familiars will be tradable. Essentially what this means, if familiars are gonna be tradable, the number 1 most sought after familiar will be Burb. right? Black spirits will probably be sought after as well, but Burb will be the most important one, as again, he is the one that affects your units the most. He is the most efficient or most optimal familiar for 95% of the unit in the game. And I'm not asking you to get him just because he's going to be good, but also because when trading comes out, he is going to be one of those things that's going to be traded a lot, which will definitely help you when you want to start trading for bundles, want to start trading for other limited units, shiny units, and stuff like that. So that's why Burb is very important. And that's why Burb is also not just an important familiar, because Burb is essentially going to be the lifeblood of trading. It's going to be traded a lot. So if you want to prepare for trading, Burb, you want to get it. You want to get a lot of him. Now for number 2, we have any limited units such as Vanguard, limited skins, limited units, not even Vanguards. The reason for this is again very simple. When trading comes out, these units will go for a lot of value. For example, right, my Escanor. I have 2 Escanors right here. These 2 units will go for a ton of value because obviously they are Vanguards and they're very good. Probably this is going to be worth at least 1 battle pass. I'm thinking 1 battle pass to maybe more than 1 battle pass. I could definitely see Escanor being worth that much. And then you also have Kaguya, right? Or you also have other characters that are very rare and very limited. Like for example, my shiny Gazelle. I have a shiny Gazelle. This one right here is one of the most rarest units in the game, but because when trading comes out, they're going to be really useful. So that's why you have to farm basically anything that's limited. Like for example, the Soul Tracer skin that we have right now. This is gonna be going for a lot of value later down the road. Now the number 1 is obviously very basic. The most important thing that you need to be farming is any hero upgrade related items. So that means rerolls, right? Rerolls are going to be very important because it will basically give your unit the best traits, which is Monarch most of the time. You need to have as much of these as possible. And then you also want to have stat chips, as much stat chips as possible. You also want to have as much evolution materials as possible. And then, yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, that's pretty much it for the 7 things you need to farm in Anime Vanguards Update 8.5. Again, my announcement is that I will try to make more videos on these other tower defense games as long as I like them. Like Anime Guardians. I genuinely like Anime Guardians. If I don't like those games, I will not force myself to make a video on them, as it will just be a waste of time. That's pretty much it for today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.